Hey, folks, this is Around the Ring, and this would be episode number 284. This is the first episode since April of 2022, and with me is Dave, and this is the first time he and I have done an episode of this in many, many, many years.
Yeah, probably. We first did the show back in 2013 on Blog Talk Radio, and
Yeah,
is it just me or was the audio quality on that website absolute trash?
it was really trashy.
Okay.
Audio for podcasts has gotten so much better. Um, but yeah, that's about the right time. Yeah, I think it was Blog Talk, and it was me and you and my wife Mandy. We did it on Saturdays, and then it just kind of it's like the podcast that will never die.
Yeah, the funny thing is about that is at the time I wasn't even watching wrestling anymore. And y'all roped me into this. And in fact, I remember one time Mandy was like, "What do you think of John Cena?" And I'm like, "What the fuck is a John Cena?"
Oh wow, yeah.
I mean, I think I knew about him because we would see his posters in Walmart, and Emily always thought he was hot, and that was about it. Um, so, yeah, and I think the whole time I was talking about, Chris Benoit was the greatest in-ring performer ever, type of thing, even though he's murder and all, and that was bad juju, but.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember most of those early episodes, like what we talked about or anything.
What I do remember is it was not good. So please, anyone who is listening to this, don't go look for it. It's not that this is much better, but we have grown as podcasters, and God, I can just call us podcasters.
Yeah.
That feels douchey as all get out. Anywho, yeah, we've definitely gotten better. So
yeah. So Around the Ring. So we are going to talk about AEW Dynasty, and just to give you a sense of where we're going with this podcast. I don't know about you, Dave, but I pretty much only watch AEW anymore.
No, I will watch a little bit of New Japan from time to time. I watch the major WWE things because I'm morbidly curious, and honestly, it has been a lot better since the sex trafficker has gone away, and now his son-in-law is running the show, so it has gotten better.
Yeah.
And they have a good roster of people, but yeah, for the most part, I mean, I prefer AEW, and I certainly prefer their in-ring product.
Yeah.
To
I prefer AEW. I will try to watch New Japan from time to time when I get a chance. But now I did watch the first night of WrestleMania.
You watched the bad one. The second night was so much better.
Here's the thing. Okay, and we've had this conversation out on the social media before. I will agree with you that it has gotten better, WWE. But generally speaking, and I say that because there are a few exceptions. Generally speaking, I don't really connect with any of those wrestlers, and they don't interest me.
And we'll kind of get into this as we go through this Dynasty card, because the stuff that, as we were talking earlier today, which led to this recording, the things that you have mentioned that you either didn't like or did like, or people you connect with or don't connect with, in some cases I was like, really? Wow. So yeah,
I can't give you an explanation.
it's just Steve being Steve, man. That's all there is to it.
But yeah, so I did watch the first. I did watch the first night of WrestleMania. I will from time to time watch their pay-per-views, but mostly because Mandy still watches the pay-per-views, and I'm usually in the room when she's watching them. That being said, I think I'm pretty sure that this podcast is going to be almost entirely AEW. I would like to talk about New Japan from time to time if I get a chance to watch it. If you want to talk about it, something you've seen in New Japan recently, I'm completely okay with that. Just be understanding that I probably don't have any idea what you're talking about.
No, I don't know what I'm talking about half the time anyway. So
no, I don't either. My wrestling takes are shit takes, so you know.
Oh, honey, yeah. No, everyone's opinion is different. That's all that matters. But hey, so let's talk about this card.
Yeah, let's talk about Dynasty.
So, did you watch? I'm about to borrow a bit from one of my favorite podcasts. Did you watch the pre-show?
I did. I think it's called 0 Hour.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing. I was told that the pay-per-view started at 6, so I turned it on at 6. It actually turned out that the pre-show started at 6. So yeah, I did watch them. So just to give a little background, that first match. Actually, what was the story behind that match? Because I don't remember. The only thing about Trent that I that has been really happening is this whole thing where he turned on Orange Cassidy.
That's the story. I mean, I didn't watch that. The only thing I watched from the pre-show was the trios title match.
Okay.
And that I didn't even watch that until 30 minutes ago or so.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't. Trent's been going on this slow burn heel turn, which he's needed to do for a while, and so that happened, which is good. But beyond that, yeah, I don't know the specifics. So yeah, let's just jump into that trios match because I think that's the one that matters, and that is the Bang Bang Gang. I still can't believe that's their name. It's you know, I say that, but Bang Bang Scissor Gang actually rolls off the tongue better. So it was Jay White and the Guns, or as they're also known, the Ass Boys, against the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. Can you imagine? Billy Gunn is like 60 years old.
I know, and he is still in the ring doing what he does.
Yep.
And he is still ginormous.
He is. In fact, the funny thing is he was a trainer for WWE down in NXT for a long time at the Performance Center, and he got busted for steroids basically when he was doing a competition, bodybuilding. That's what it's called. He's doing a bodybuilding competition, and so he got shit canned. And next thing you know, AEW starts up and he's over there. And I mean, he's at this point, I'm really hoping that his time in ring and the focus on him is lessened a bit because, again, he's 60 years old.
I'm 52 and I can't do that crap.
Oh yeah, I could never do that stuff, and I'm 49, so it's incredible. But he does not need to be a major player for the show. They have too many other talented and younger folks who need the shine.
They've got a hell of a roster.
They really do. I thought this was a very fun match. It had the right ending with Jay White pinning Daddy Ass. And the thing about Jay White is you can make an argument he has not been used well in AEW, and I would probably agree with you. Every time he enters, his entrance comes on, he always gets a huge pop. People love Jay White, even when he's being a douchebag. And it's because he's so freaking good.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, good match. So I watched all of them, but I also, the one of them that you didn't mention was the Shibata Cassidy match. I don't know how familiar with Shibata you are. Probably more than me, actually. But
Katsuyori Shibata. I'm not an expert, but he is an incredible athlete. I mean, he damn near died in the ring against Okada after a just hellaciously stupid headbutt. And was it Meltzer said they had to take part of his brain out while they were doing surgery on him?
I actually didn't know anything about him until after that had already happened. And then I went back and watched some of his old matches. And I'm like, yeah, I like this guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was on the ascent. And I think had that not happened, he eventually would have become IWGP heavyweight champion. But he damn near died, and New Japan did not want to clear him, and they just refused. And they let him do a couple of little minor things after a few years. And basically they let Tony Khan just hire him, and Tony's let him wrestle, but he's a smart enough wrestler that he's adjusted his style. So he's not doing exactly what he did before, which is good because, he almost died. So we don't want that. But yeah, I like Shibata a lot. And he and Orange Cassidy beating Shane Taylor Promotions, because Shane Taylor's been feuding with Mr. Cassidy and a few other people. What sucks is Shane Taylor's really good, and he keeps losing on TV, which hopefully he'll start to get some wins at some point. Because he is, I mean, you look at the guy and you're like, oh, this guy's not going to be much of anything. And then you watch him work and you're like, oh, wow, this guy's really good. So,
yeah.
Why don't we go ahead and jump to the main show? The show opens up singles match for the AEW Continental Championship. We had the bastard Pac or Pac. I can never remember which one he likes to be called. It's he's still in my head. He's Adrian Neville, which I know is blasphemous, but against Kazuchika Okada. And this was one of your takes that you mentioned online earlier that I was baffled by, because this match fucking ruled.
I get it. I felt like I love me an Okada match. I love Okada matches. I felt maybe I need to watch it again, but I just felt like it could have been better.
Well, he's also working slightly differently now because he is this jerk off heel. And I mean, that the perfect moment that encapsulated that is, he comes out, he's getting this huge reaction, and then in the middle of the match, he's going, he's amping up the crowd for his Rainmaker pose, and he just flips everybody off. And which was phenomenal. It was just, I laughed so hard for that. And I mean, you're not going to have Pac defeat Okada. I mean, not now at least.
Yeah.
But it was a good match. And Pac is a guy, I've discovered him in NXT, and his work is just impeccable.
Yeah. Yeah. Pac is I'm not sure if I would say he's one of my favorites, but I'd say at least top 25. I don't know.
Nice.
But yeah, he's good. And same with me. I discovered him in NXT. Um, yeah, I just between these two, maybe I just need to watch the match again because between these two, I just really expected mind blowing, and my mind was not blown.
I mean, that's fair. If you went into it with exceedingly high expectations, I could see how, like, if you were going in expecting 4.5, 4.75, 5-star match, and you get a 4-star match, you're like, oh, well, that's disappointing.
Yeah, yeah, it's probably what it was. My expectations were way up there.
Yeah,
because you got Okada and Pac. It's like, man.
Okada, who has consistently been one of the best wrestlers in the world for like a decade.
Mm-hmm.
Pac, who's one of the most underrated wrestlers in the world. So it's, can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Next up, we did have a trios match. The House of Black, Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews, who Buddy Matthews freaking rules. And I've liked his work since going back to NXT. They defeated Adam Copeland, Eddie Kingston, and Mark Briscoe. So the champs, in this case, to borrow a phrase from another podcast that I listened to, were chumps. The champs lost. Now, granted, it's 3 singles champions, but they still lost.
Yeah.
And I think that works because I could see a program with Malachi Black and Adam Copeland coming out of this. And I could see, Brody King and Buddy Matthews, either of them could either go against Eddie Kingston or Mark Briscoe.
Yeah.
So, but it was a fun match. It was, I like the House of Black guys. I'm not 100% sold on some of their spookier elements, but as soon as the bell rings, I'm like, okay, these guys rule.
No, I agree. This was a fun match to watch. I can definitely see a Malachi Black Adam Copeland feud brewing, especially the way it ended. It just they won, but they won, of course, by nefarious means through the use of the mist.
I've often wondered, does the mist not automatically disqualify someone? Because I mean, yes, the ref didn't see the mist, but after the fact, you're like, he's covered in shit. What what happened?
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
If we go down too far down that rabbit hole, we'll lose our minds because this is pro wrestling and none of this shit makes sense.
Yeah, that's true.
Next match, speaking of House of Black, we're staying in the house. It was the AEW TBS Championship with Julia Hart defending against Willow Nightingale, and everyone was banned from ringside. So Willow is this absolutely fun, up-and-coming wrestler. Actually, they both are. Julia Hart's like disgustingly young, and she has gotten so much better since aligning herself with the House of Black. This was fun. Sadly, the entire point of this was to set up for Mercedes Moné, the formerly known as Sasha Banks, to dance her ass out and do her extended little dance moves that she does when it says CEO. I'm like, okay, honey, I know I can't dance, but maybe do that once and pull it back. You don't need to do that like 8 times. It's fucking annoying. Yeah. I am not enjoying Sasha in AEW right now. Granted, girl needs to get in the ring because that's where she excels, not with all the other crap. But I enjoyed this match. Admittedly, I fast forwarded through chunks of it, as I often do watching these pay-per-views, but overall I enjoyed it. I like Willow a lot. And there is a story there with Willow and Monet because, Willow broke her leg or whatever it was. And that's why Sasha hasn't wrestled in like a year.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I like Willow. If my memory serves me correctly, I think the first time I saw Willow was in a GCW match.
I'm sorry.
Well, I don't remember why I was watching that event, but
Was it the one from Hammerstein Ballroom? The one pay-per-view that they did that apparently sucked so bad it killed all of their momentum.
Yeah, I don't really remember.
Yeah, that's I have no time for that promotion.
But yeah, I liked this match. I like Willow. I like to see what she does. I like that she took the title. But also like you, I am not a huge fan of this era of Sasha Banks or CEO or whatever she's calling herself. Um, I mean, I know it was all part of the show, but her coming out and basically taking Willow's, you know, fanfare was kind of lame.
Agreed. It's like, can we not let Willow have this moment? Because we know at Double or Nothing, Willow's going to be staring up at the lights while Monet or whatever the fuck how you pronounce her last name, wins. Oh, well, moving on, we have the AEW International Championship. Kyle O'Reilly defending against, or no, I'm sorry, Kyle O'Reilly challenging Roderick Strong. Now, this was another one in our previous conversations that you said you did not enjoy. Now, I will completely grant you, neither Kyle O'Reilly nor Roderick Strong are the most charismatic guys in the world. But if you just want a good, solid wrestling match, you're gonna have to find people who are a lot worse than these guys, because these guys are going to put on a really good match, even if they're like in beaten up or sick or whatever, because they're very, very good professional wrestlers. Do they jump off the page? No. I mean, what has Roderick Strong gotten known for in the last year or so? Screaming Adam, annoyingly so. Adam! I mean, that's... And I like Roddy. I liked Roddy in Ring of Honor. I liked Roddy in NXT. You know, him and Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole and Bobby Fish, who's lost his damn mind apparently, as the Undisputed Era. Loved those. I will say my favorite part of this entire match was during the introductions at the very beginning. And at one point, Roderick Strong, he's holding the belt, and the camera only caught a part of it, but he starts doing the air guitar with the belt that Kyle O'Reilly used to do in NXT. Oh my God, that was hilarious. That I just loved it. Now, did you think this was boring, or do you just not care about these guys?
I don't think the match was boring, and you're gonna hate what I'm about to say, but so I like Kyle O'Reilly. Don't care about Roderick Strong.
That's fine. I mean, it's easy not to care about Roderick Strong. Now, if you said
the one of that group that you just mentioned a few minutes ago, the one of that group that I just don't care about.
Again, that is totally fine. He is bland as white toast without butter. I mean, he is
pretty bland. I couldn't eat toast without butter.
No, it's rough. But though his skill in the ring is top notch. Yeah, I can completely, like, if you're like, I don't get it, he's not for me, fine. If someone told me, I think Roderick Strong sucks as a pro wrestler, my eyebrow's going to go up like Spock, and I'm going to wonder what's happening.
That. And we're going to probably have the same conversation later regarding another wrestler. But
I'm looking forward to it.
He is talented. He is a good wrestler. I just don't care about him.
Fair enough. Hey, speaking about not caring, FTW rules match for the FTW Championship. Chris Jericho, who please needs to go the fuck away for a while, defeated Hook, who is Taz's son. And okay, so I'm going to be straight up. I have become biased against Hook thanks to one of my favorite podcasts, The Flagship. As soon as they mentioned that, he's this guy who acts like this tough guy, and he grew up very rich playing, like, was it water polo or lacrosse or one of those snooty New England sports. I'm like, oh, I can't take you seriously now. And Chris Jericho, he's fine in small doses at this point. I did hear that there were some "please retire" chants. I think that's pretty fitting. But, yeah, what'd you think of this?
The match to me was really mediocre, which kind of is indicative of most recent Jericho matches that I've seen. He was great at a time. He was phenomenal at a time. He is just plain mediocre lately.
Absolutely. He's I hate to say washed up, but he's one of those guys who was cool when he was young and just will not let go.
Well, yeah, like for sure, like Y2J back then he was pretty cool then.
Yeah, even when he was doing the list stuff, that was hilarious. But now, I mean, and of course, it doesn't help my opinion of him. I think his band is awful.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
And I'm amazed that there are people that enjoy it that aren't wrestling fans. I'm like, wait a minute. You've got people in this audience that don't know who Chris Jericho is as far as like who he is. Why? This music stinks, but it's not for me. So I will just say it's not for me and move on. Yeah, also, things not for me. Timeless Tony Storm defending the Women's World Championship against Thunder Rosa.
See, I like Thunder Rosa. I like her a lot. Tony Storm.
I liked her before she was timeless.
Yeah, she's another one of those that, I just don't connect with them. Back even when they were in WWE, I was like, I can take her or leave her.
I mean, that's fair. She went from doing this basically hair metal gimmick to now doing this silent film star gimmick. And I actually admit I prefer Mariah May doing her Tony Storm cosplay to Tony Storm. But it's Tony Storm won. Who cares? Because why do we not care? Because one of the best freaking matches you'll ever see was next. And if this is not like the consensus match of the year, we will have just had a glorious year of great matches, because dear sweet baby Jesus, Will Ospreay and Bryan Danielson knocked it out of the freaking park. These are two of the best wrestlers.
Are you not even going to talk about the Women's World Championship match? I don't have much to say. I'm just
wondering. I'm
just wondering.
No, I fast forwarded through like 95% of it.
It was fine. It was just there. I was expecting a little bit more from Thunder Rosa, but it was all right.
Well, as was it Beavis or Butthead once said, you can't polish a turd.
But okay, next match. Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson. You might agree with me, but really, this was the highlight of the night for me.
Yeah, this is possibly the highlight of the year. This thing was incredible. One, I've been a fan of Will Ospreay ever since I saw that first match that really made him famous or made him more well-known worldwide, which was that Best of the Super Juniors match against Ricochet that just was being spread all around because it was bonkers, because it was Will Ospreay and Ricochet, for Pete's sake. And he's just gotten better over the years. And the other thing I like about him is the fact that he has, at least based on the way he behaves in front of a camera, which seems pretty genuine, he has really kind of humbled himself over the years, because he was pretty brash and said a lot of stupid shit online. And now he comes off like this just super likable guy, and his energy is through the roof. His entrances are so good. And he's the best wrestler alive today. I think you could make some arguments, but I'm gonna be suspicious of the arguments depending on who you're talking about. And then you have Bryan Danielson, who is one of the best wrestlers of all time. And yeah, it was absolute perfection. 5 stars, easily, hands down, just phenomenal match.
Yeah, amazing match. Regarding Will, I don't think I even knew who he was until you had mentioned him once. I don't even remember where it was you mentioned him. You just mentioned him, and I'm like, oh, I'll check him out. And yeah, he's amazing. Yeah, after he lost, or not lost, he had to relinquish the IWGP title. He seemed like kind of a douche for a little while. But yes, he's grown into a different sort of character. He did an interview somebody recently. Hell, I don't remember what it was. Where I don't want to use the word came out. He revealed that he was autistic.
Which explains so much.
Yeah. Well, he talked about it so I watched most of the media scrum following this, and Will's portion of the media scrum was by far the best because just he's awesome on the mic, and just the way he talked and what the things he brought up, and then one of the reporters brought up the whole autistic thing and how he was an inspiration for others of that are on the spectrum. And he seemed very, like you mentioned, very genuine about his response. And I just think it's, aside from that, he is, most likely the best wrestler. Like you said, just nobody can touch him right now. I mean, the closest, the person that can come closest really is probably Okada.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it's probably safe to say that you could say that Will Ospreay, Kazuchika Okada, and Bryan Danielson are the 3 best wrestlers in the world. And by the way, they're all on the same roster. How bonkers is that?
On top of that, so is Kenny Omega.
Yes. Yeah, you got Kenny. Yeah, Kenny. Yeah, and this roster is just stupid good.
You've got 4 of the best, bell-to-bell wrestlers in the world on the same roster. It's crazy.
How would you, real impromptu question, rank them best to worst?
Of those 4?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Best to worst. I would go Will, Okada, Danielson, Omega. The line between Omega and Danielson is very, very thin.
Yeah, see, I would actually go. I would say that it's Will 1. I would probably tie Danielson and Okada for 2, and Omega would be 3. I don't think before he was injured, Omega was not doing as great work as he did, say, at Wrestle Kingdom. Was that 11? The first time he and Okada had the match, which I still think is probably the best match I've ever seen. I base that off of, I remember watching that and at the end going, wow, I've never seen anything like that.
Omega's pretty badass.
I agree.
But really, between all 4 of them, the line is kind of thin.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, we're picking at nits here.
Yes, we are. So amazing match, 5 stars. following that up was the ladder match for the vacant AEW World Tag Team Championship.
Yes, and real quick, do you think Meltzer's going to break the scale? You think he's going to go 6 stars on this one?
I don't think so.
I'm if nothing else, I just want to see people freaking out because Meltzer opens his mouth and people have a conniption fit. But anyway, yes, the for the vacant tag team titles ladder match, Young Bucks, FTR, poor bastards having to follow Danielson and Ospreay. Man,
so I think a lot of people out there are not going to like what I have to say about this match.
Okay.
A lot of it could be because it followed the match that it did. Kind of a snooze fest.
I can see that. They were in they had a distinct disadvantage of coming after one of the greatest matches of the year, if not all time, and the crowd was exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were so just out of it by this point, and I mean, you kind of can't blame them. It was they needed to come down, and unfortunately, it was this. And I'm glad that they put something in between this match and the main event, so that way, Joe and Swerve weren't hit with a crowd that was just, okay, I'm so tired it hurts. Then again, they woke up for Mr. Scapegoat, for Jack Perry when he came out. The match itself was fine. I admittedly fast forwarded through a lot of it. I've seen a lot of ladder matches, and I'm a bit numb to a lot of them at this point. And yeah, it was fine. I mean, I like both teams. I think the Bucks do great work as huge D-bag heels, and FTR is great. So yeah, I do think it was a good match. It was just, had that match been on any other card, people would be, just throwing flowers all over it. And instead, it was in between one of the greatest matches you'll ever see and then one of the most cathartic victories you'll ever see. So
yeah, I mean, I won't, like, again, bell to bell, these two teams are great at their craft. Absolutely amazing. I remember back when I had no idea who the Revival was, and did not know about them until you and Floyd were here on Around the Ring, mentioned them several times. I'm like, I'm gonna go check them out. Amazing, been a fan since.
shout out to Floyd.
Shout out to Floyd, who is now on a podcast called All Things Elite.
Yes, on the Social Suplex Network, which is one of the bigger wrestling podcast networks out there, and does a great show. Floyd's a super great guy. So
definitely. Where was I going? So good match. Just like I said, a bit of a snooze fest. Actually, so I would say that I am, for lack of a better way to put it, yes, I am a fan of the Young Bucks. Not crazy about their douchey heel run, but I do like them. I read their autobiography, and now I can't remember what the hell the name of the autobiography was. Hold that thought. God, what was the name of that? Hang on, let me see if I can find it. I've got a list somewhere of books that I've read. Crap. Oh, there we go. Young Bucks killing the business from backyards to the big leagues. And I read that. I don't know, when the hell did I read it? Oh, I guess it's been a while. It's been read it in 2021. Good book. But yeah, it was they've definitely had this rise, and now they're basically not really co-owners, but like kind of in charge of, or some of the people in charge of AEW. So getting back to my point, I like them. Not crazy about their douchey heel run. But as performers, they are still one of the best, if not the best, tag team out there.
A while back, Voices of Wrestling posted an article that posed the questions, are the Young Bucks the greatest tag team of all time? And I think they're certainly in the conversation. Because, I mean, if you think about everything they've done up to this point, the only thing they haven't done is spend time in WWE, which, if they went there now, I have a whole lot more confidence in how they would be used versus had they gone there while the Predator was still in charge. So, alleged Predator. So, but I don't think they're going anywhere, if for no other reason, because at AEW, from my understanding, they get, as you were mentioning, 2 paychecks. So they get performer paychecks and EVP paychecks.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they're not booking anything like they used to, because they kind of sucked at that. But certainly their persona as these swarmy heels who are running the show is great. And I mean, let's be honest, even when they were being baby faces, they both, especially the one, and I forget which one it is, if it's Nick or Matt, one of them has one of the most punchable faces in the entire world. It's like, if you met him, all you would want to do is kick him right in the nads. And it's just, what a guy.
Apparently doing his job then.
Yes, very much so.
So that leads us to the main event in name. The match for the AEW World Championship between Swerve Strickland and Samoa Joe. Samoa was the current champion, if you didn't already know that.
So let me ask you, what is your history with these two guys? Because I know you used to watch TNA. Were you familiar with Joe's work from TNA?
Yeah, that's where I first learned about Samoa Joe, was from TNA. And then when I saw him pop up on NXT, I was pretty excited because I like Joe. His run against crap, what's his flipping name?
Was this an NXT?
Yeah.
Finn Balor?
No.
Shinsuke Nakamura?
Yeah, Shinsuke Nakamura. Yeah. That was an incredible run. And then his WWE, I mean, he spent most of that injured, so
yeah,
not great. But then when he popped up on AEW, I was excited because I do like me some Joe.
Me too. He was a guy that I had heard of for years. I never actually saw his work until he hit NXT. The majority of his TNA run was during the years I wasn't watching wrestling.
Yeah.
And yeah, he just comes off like someone you do not want to mess with.
Oh no.
You do not walk down a dark alley where he's standing at the end of it. You're like, nope, I'm going to walk the other direction.
He was on TNA, if I'm remembering my TNA history right. He was on TNA around the same time AJ Styles was.
He was. They had some feuds because he was Ring of Honor world champion for like a year. He in TNA, he had that big feud with Kurt Angle when Kurt Angle came in.
Yes. Yes.
He definitely feuded with AJ a few times, and yeah, he when he was on the main roster in WWE, it was just Vince didn't see anything in him, which is insane. They did have him doing commentary, which he's so good on the mic that he's like, I could see like the way Taz has turned his career into doing commentary. I think whenever Joe finally hangs up the boots, that someone needs to put him behind a mic at a booth and have him doing commentary on matches because he's so good at it. But yeah, coming into AEW, he had this brand new lease on life, and it's just been phenomenal to watch. And he's still one of the most, if not the most believable MFer out there. It's like, yes, I do think Joe is going to kill me, as the chants say.
Right. So, yeah. That being said, I like Joe. Okay. Swerve Strickland. I mentioned this earlier. Great performer. Really good at what he does, bell to bell. I'm not a fan.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I just, something about his character, I just, like, doesn't do anything. I don't connect with him.
That's fine. Yeah, no, I mean, that makes sense because we're not all going to connect with everybody. I first saw him when he was in Lucha Underground, and he was under a mask, and I want to say he was Killshot in Lucha Underground. That was also the first place I saw Ricochet, who was Prince Puma in the Lucha Underground. So I always liked his work then, and he was never one who was on any of the major indies, meaning he was never like on Ring of Honor or anything. He was always in Evolve or some of those other places. And then when he hit NXT, he kind of hit NXT at the beginning of a transition period when the show went to USA Network and went to 2 hours, and they were trying so hard to just be AEW instead of just doing what they do. And even still, I mean, he jumps off the page. You just look at the guy and you're like, yeah, that is a star or a star in the making. And that's the Who's House thing was started in NXT. That's where the name Swerve came from. And then his debut on AEW, where Tony Schiavone brought him out to sign his contract, and the place just went fucking bonkers. And he said Who's House, and everyone was like Swerve's house. And from then, he's just had this really great kind of slow build rise. And yeah, I really, really like him. And I thought it was the right time to put the title on him. And yeah, it was a fun match. It wasn't, I mean, it was like I think a 4-star, maybe 3 3/4 star match. It wasn't anything that will, completely blow your mind. But that ending, the emotion in the ending of that match was top notch.
Yeah, the match itself was fine. Again, still coming off the end of, or not the end, coming off the heels somewhat of the, one of the best matches ever. It was fine. But again, I'm just, for what it represents, him becoming the champion, for what it represents to a lot of people, kudos to him, man. It's great. I just don't connect with the guy. Like I said, he's a phenomenal performer. I think I'm trying to articulate what I'm saying. I didn't care for his tag run with Keith Lee. because and this is very I wouldn't say nitpicky. This is very selfish. I wanted to see a singles run from him.
From Keith Lee?
From Keith Lee.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it.
No. Bless his heart, Keith Lee's run in AEW has been not great. And I know he's had a lot of health issues, which doesn't help things. But also, Tony doesn't always know what he's got and doesn't always use what he has the best way possible. Not that I could do any better, mind you. But yeah, I can. Yeah, that I can see, because especially you being a big Keith Lee fan, that whole thing leaving a sour taste in your mouth will definitely affect how you view Swerve going forward.
That could be a lot of the problem. Maybe that's what it is. He just left a sour taste in my mouth over that run.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that 100% makes sense. And now that makes our conversation from earlier make even more sense. So yeah, I think it is, for, like you mentioned, for what it represents, I think this was a phenomenal win. Because also, I think it's a great thing for AEW, considering it took them only 5 years to have a black world champion versus WWE, their first black world champion who's not half Samoan and who's actually holding their original title, not one they got from another company and incorporated into their own thing, was Kofi Kingston, like 4 years ago? Yeah. And then the NWA
company had been around for a while.
Yes. Or they did better than the NWA/WCW, which at that point, when they put the belt on Ron Simmons, and because really at that point it was still Jim Crockett Promotions, so it was still the same company. But I mean, the NWA, you can trace its lineage back to the early 1900s, so it was a very long time before they had an African American champion. So yeah, Tony's done a great job as far as that's concerned with representation and putting the world title on someone who isn't white quickly into the run. But more than that is, none of this feels like a token title win. This doesn't feel like your token black guy, like in a movie, which used to happen, sadly, all too often. This feels like a guy who really has moved up the ranks, and you see his entrances. He just comes off like a star. And yeah, I'm gonna say it. Prince Nana is a big help. His manager is freaking great, and that dance is incredible. And I will say, man, the one point when Joe was given a beat down a couple weeks ago, and they had this great shot of I think it was Nana standing in the ring, and Joe was back there doing a little Nana dance, which was so funny. It was, oh man. Yeah, I did enjoy this. I think it was the right time. I think if I'm going to fantasy book, I suspect that Swerve will hold this title until Wembley, where he loses to Will Ospreay. And that is going to be a bonkers match. Those guys apparently are long time friends, and they're going to want to tear it up. So I am hopefully looking forward to that. My only concern is that a little too quick to put the world title on Will? But I mean,
it might be. Yeah.
But he's going to be doing something huge at Wembley, that Mr. Ospreay is. So that was AEW Dynamite. Overall, what would you get? What grade or star rating would you give the show?
Based on like what criteria? Like A, B, C, D, E, F, or like 1 through 5?
You pick it. It is, if you're gonna grade it like it's school, if that's easier.
Okay. Overall, I'm gonna say B minus.
B minus. Okay. I would go with B plus overall. B plus, A minus, possibly an A. I'm just because I'm thinking in my head, I'm thinking, okay, we have these phenomenal matches that are incredible and that I loved, but then there were chunks that I just fast forwarded through. So with that in mind, I think overall it was a great show. So I'd say probably A minus for me.
Okay.
Overall.
I just felt like there were a lot of matches where now, okay, so there were matches that were phenomenal. But there were other matches that were
No, I mean, yeah, that is fair. But I mean, let's think about it this way. How lucky are we to live in a world where you have a wrestling show that is a major wrestling show that gives us, even if it did not quite live up to your expectations, Okada Pac, the Swerve victory, the House of Black trio match, and then Will Ospreay and Bryan Danielson. I mean, come on, that's embarrassment of riches right there.
So a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this out there in the wrestling social media world, and that's fine.
That is kind of accessible if we're being honest.
It is. But I will say that even a meh AEW pay-per-view is more often than not better than just your standard WWE pay-per-view.
See, I don't think that's very controversial. I think if you look at...
I'm just saying I think a lot of people would disagree with me.
Also very possible. Most of the people who will just, especially knee-jerk reaction, that are the tribalistic mutants out there that can't see the forest for the trees because, you know, they're 100% behind their team, and it makes me, you know, hate the world the way that damn near everything has gotten like that. And because all you have to do, look at the sections of Twitter that are pro wrestling related, and you will see some of the absolute stupidest takes ever. And it's just blind loyalty to both companies. And it's like, can we not just have nice things? Can we not just enjoy something fun? Apparently, the answer to that is no. No, we can't.
No, we can't.
It's
not possible.
Nope.
Well,
what is?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, what is hopefully possible is that we will be back again, and not in a few years.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. What I was going to say before we close things out, why don't you give a plug to your podcast? Your regular gig, shall we say?
Yeah, so I host a show called One Band, Five Songs, and it is literally the name of the show. I talk about a musical artist, and I use 5 of their songs, sometimes a couple more, to go through their discography and history and give my thoughts on the band. It is currently available on all major podcasting platforms, and I've recently launched a Patreon where I've talked about other extra stuff. And right now there are about 3 posts on there. The most recent thing was an interview I did with our good buddy Justin Hensley from Punk Lotto Pod, and it was a lot of fun. The way the show is formatted is, even when I have guests on, it's very much, we kind of cut to the chase, and yes, there are tangents and asides, but there's not a whole lot of, hey, what are you working on now type of talk. And my hope / plan is going forward for whenever I do have guests that will record a second interview during that whole process, which will go up on the Patreon. I'm also working on a couple of different, I'm working on an audio essay that is about Manchester and grunge music and the beat that connects them. Also doing a star ratings of discographies. Got the first one's going to be on REM, the Bill Berry years, because the band should have ended when he left. And I wrote a paper for school that we had to do content data analysis. We could basically do it on whatever we wanted. And because we could do it on whatever I wanted, I went and I looked at the ratings of U2 albums on Rate Your Music. And then I looked at the number of scrollables on Last.fm and the number of listens on Spotify. And I gather that data and talk about it. So after the paper's graded and the semester's over, so I don't potentially get dinged for plagiarism, I will post that there as well. So that's all the crap I've got going on. And you're muted, my friend.
God damn it. That happens all the time. Anyway, yeah, give a listen to Dave's podcast, One Band, Five Songs. I'll have a link to it in the show description. And I have a podcast as well. Actually, it's more like a live stream YouTube thing, which is also audio, though. It's called Rebel Rock Radio, and you can check that out by going to bio.link/Rebel Rock Radio, and I'll have a link to that as well. So until next time we decide to record another episode of Around the Ring, thanks for listening. Anything you want to close with?
No, what is it? Double or Nothing is next month, so hopefully we'll do something then.
Yep. All right. Later, folks.